The Honourable Steve Whan.
Congratulate John Barilaro.
Madam Deputy President, I rise tonight to pay tribute to Gough Whitlam. My contribution won't be as profound as some that we've heard today, but it does come from a family which had a long respect and involvement with Gough during his time in government and afterwards. Gough was a leader who inspired a generation. He led a fundamental change in Australian politics and a huge reform across government. Gough led Labor into government after decades in opposition, and as part of that team, my father, Bob Whan, became member for Eden-Monaro. I had the opportunity to meet Gough at backyard barbecues in Queanbeyan, and as I hung around the corridors of Old Parliament House, he was an inspiration. I was just a child, but Gough always had time to say hello and ask me how I was going, or later on what I was doing. His legacy is massive, is the massive change he brought to Australia. I, amongst many others, was a beneficiary of the free tertiary education he introduced. He created Medibank, the forerunner to our universal healthcare system in Medicare, and that was something which at the time had great controversy. In my father's as yet unpublished biography, he says that that policies like Medibank were understood and appreciated by the bulk of the electorate, even though the doctors were waging a vicious campaign against the proposal. Nazi Whitlam signs approved by doctors were appearing all over Eden-Monaro, he said, but the people made it very clear that they wanted that program. Gough made massive strides in equality for women, the environment and the image etched in our history of the Prime Minister pouring soil into the hands of Vincent Lingiari. Rural New South Wales still benefits from Gough's world-leading trip to China and the decision to recognise China. We're now seeing the benefits of China as a market for our rural products, and rural New South Wales benefited greatly from his decision to start to open up our economy and reduce tariffs. The program of regional growth centres and regional development introduced by the Whitlam government was, in my opinion, the last comprehensive regional development policy we've seen from a government in Australia. Our region in the southeast benefited from the big things Gough Whitlam did and the many smaller things. The Tathra Wharf is still there today because Gough visited when he was Prime Minister and provided the funding to preserve it and also to build a new surf club. Along the way, he picked up an excited 9-year-old and took him for a ride in the Prime Minister's car, a ride I still remember vividly. Queanbeyan has bridges over the railway line because of Gough Whitlam, and again my father said, even the simple matter of a long overdue improved road access to Queanbeyan was frustrated by the failure of the New South Wales Railways to cooperate. In the end, that's my father, convinced Gough to fund the bridge over the railway line. He told me the funding was a 1974 Christmas present to Queanbeyan. Gough touched the lives of so many Australians, including many who weren't born when he was Prime Minister. Our local Labor Party branches in Monaro and Eden-Monaro still have many members who joined our party inspired by the things that he stood for. My father also tells the story of Whitlam's decision to pull out of Vietnam and a meeting that he went to down in the forest in the southeast of the Eden-Monaro electorate, where a public meeting just after the announcement suddenly produced thousands of people on the local oval to the surprise of organisers, people who had been quietly living, hiding away in that area in fear of being conscripted. It was a decision which certainly changed people's lives. Gough moved Australia. He made us a fairer and more modern society, and in many ways he set the scene for the social and economic reforms of subsequent Labor governments. I'd like to finish by quoting my daughter, who wasn't born anywhere near the time that Gough was leading Australia. In fact, she was born in 1993, but today on Facebook she said, "Rest in peace, Gough Whitlam. Even though I wasn't alive whilst you were in your prime, I know that you were someone fantastic. I'll always treasure the stories I hear about you from my grandparents and my dad. Thank you for what you achieved for this country, and I hope eventually we can catch up to where you would have led us if you'd had the chance." That's from my daughter. Rest in peace, Gough Whitlam.